Alright guys, welcome back to the Raw Light Podcast. My name is Danielle Baker and I thank you for being here today. I am going to be very, very, very honest in this podcast. I've never hidden anything from you guys. I've never claimed to be an incredible, amazing person. I have my good and my bad parts, even being a healer, even being a person who is working on themselves. I am constantly looking at myself and constantly having mirrors reflected back to me in this life, and I make mistakes and I do things that I am not 100% happy about, but they are all for a purpose and they are all for a reason, whether we might not think it. I'm still really sick. I'm actually still very, very sick, but I didn't want to give you guys another week without a podcast. And I am also very, very feeling a bit battered and bruised at the moment by the universe. I feel I personally have been really opened up to some things that I would like to talk about on here. I'm going to talk about my view on it, my view on friendships. And now I have a very, very high view of friendships in my life and in my mind. And honestly, I am struggling to kind of even find the words to what I was wanting to say today, because I've had a few little slap in the faces in the last 2 weeks. And I thought that I had kind of worked through this phase. And an old pattern from my childhood and teenagehood has come up, and I'm starting to possibly realize that it was coming up because it wasn't right or aligned for me, and I was trying to push it and make it something that just wasn't serving me right now in this moment. And I had quite a few people put their boundaries down with me, and I am a bit flabbergasted, I guess. So this podcast might seem a little bit scattered, but let's see how we go with it all. Like I said, I'm going to be very authentic and real about this podcast. I've had loads of friendships over the years. Let's start from high school. Let's talk about high school, hey? Let's talk about the fact when I was in high school, I felt like I was always having to protect myself, always having to... Even when I was authentic, soft and gentle myself, I found that people would take advantage of me, and also people would have a very, very different thinking of me from high school, very different. Some people probably thought I was mean. Some people probably thought that I was rude. Some people probably thought that I was nice. Some people probably didn't like me. Some people still don't like me. And I'm very good at reflecting and removing energy from my body that needs to be removed. And we've all got patterns. And I make this very, 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 very clear. Your karmic patterns are your body. And they are the patterns that you create from other lives. They could be from your mum's DNA. They could be stored in your body. They could be... It just depends on what you have signed up for this life, and if you wanted to sign up for that life, your physical body is built around what you've signed up for and what karma needs to be removed from your life. Some people have really bad eczema. Some people have bad backs. Some people have bad leg injuries constantly. Some people have face injuries constantly. Some people have eyes swell up when they need to see something. You are put here to work on yourself and grow. This is my belief, okay? A lot of people do not agree with the way that my authentic self comes forward. It doesn't work for people. And sometimes my authentic self comes out in a really, really not very nice way. Sometimes my authentic self doesn't know when to put down a phone or stop a conversation and can say things that aren't very nice. That is like everybody in this world, right? There's over billions of people in this world, okay? Am I aware in that moment when it happens that it is not correct? Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Have I said things to my husband Have I said things to my husband that have been very, very hurtful sometimes? Yes, I have. Has my husband said things to me that have been very, very hurtful? Yes, they have. But it is all about growth and growing into a partnership that you can both understand, okay, how to grow and mold together. That is what a relationship is about. Now, have I had toxic traits when I met my husband? Yes, I did. Yes, I did have certain toxic traits. Yes, they have been toxic. But I have worked on them, and I have seen them and worked very, very, very hard physically and energetically on them, and I don't do what I used to do. But I had to learn and grow from that, right? Would you say that that is a fair assumption of growth and meeting someone in your real rawness and being seen for that real and rawness? And even though that I had bad moments, my husband still loves me deeply. It's absolutely incredible looking at that man and me loving him for all his faults and everything that comes up. That is what it's about, right? That is what an authentic relationship for me is about. Now, if I hadn't nipped those things in the bum and I had been abusive to him, or if I am still because we used to disagree a lot. So say we used to disagree, and the only way that I felt heard in my life was yelling, because from a very young age, when I was a little girl, no one listened to me. So I used to have to yell in my home to be heard because I didn't think. And then everybody used to think that I was this loud girl who used to always scream and yell. But it was because of my trauma from when I was a childhood. I carried this with me, this wound of feeling not heard. Now, I have been working through this wound since I met my husband. We have been working on it together, and he has been working on his wounds, okay? I'm not going to air everything out as dirty laundry like everyone does, but I'm just trying to tell you a story so you can understand. When it comes to friendships, I've always been very open and honest, but sometimes I go into things thinking that everybody is going to treat it that specific way on a growth journey, on a growth knowledge, on thinking and feeling. And even when something is said to each other that isn't kind or that isn't appropriate, that we both can sit down and say, hey, we just need to look at this behavior. Can we shift it and move on from it? That is how I work in a friendship. That is how I work. Does it mean that I don't hurt people? No, I do hurt people. Yes, I have hurt people, and I'm happy to say that. Some of my behaviors in friendships have not been good. I have not had the best friendships over the years where I have been my best self. Have I been loved still in some of them? Yes, I have. Deeply loved. I've had one person in particular who is very close to me, and her and I used to trigger each other on and off, until we kind of got to a level of understanding in our own growth cycle, that it was a part of us just learning our boundaries with each other. It's about learning your boundaries with each other to then be able to uplift each other together, right? To be able to say, hey, look, you've just crossed that boundary. Can you just acknowledge that, see that, and then push and move forward? That is all it takes. And I feel like a lot of people in the world, they don't want to go down that road. They think that it's very toxic if somebody is triggering you constantly, or if you're having a trigger moment, they feel like it is a tip over the scale to their body, to their nervous system, to who they are. Now, let me be very clear. I'm not stating or attacking anybody. I'm just saying that a lot of people's nervous systems can't handle the fast growth, the quick growth, the quick talking. The people that I am very, very close with are the people that I've done extensive work with in relationships. And there's very few, because there's very few people that want to have that long game friendship. And it's not just about, what is the word? It is also about the fact that probably sometimes I can't completely communicate things in messages. I don't know if people have that problem too, but for me, messages, any sort of writing, I've always had really bad trouble with things, and messages just can get really, really, really muddled up. So me and my sister-in-law now, we only call each other, or we only send voice messages to each other, because we both know that what we're trying to say gets misunderstood when we're having a disagreement. And the only reason why we can come to that conclusion is because we've made so many mistakes together, and we've forgiven each other. We've forgiven each other for those mistakes, because that is unconditional love. When you can forgive somebody, you are unconditionally forgiving them. Now, let me be very, very clear. I'm not talking about getting constantly abused by your friends, being constantly made fun of, being told that you are... just the unhealthy ways about going about it. I can't use my brain right now, but what I will say is, over the times when I have done the right things by myself and said, hey, this isn't right for me anymore, people have taken it the wrong way, and I've had that happen to me. I've also had people say that I'm not the right fit for them. It doesn't hurt any less. Doesn't mean I'm not a human being and I'm not a person that it's not going to hurt as well. And I really do question myself. Like I am questioning myself today. I'm going to give myself the time, moment, and grace. Also, I'm on my period. I've had Oakley's really sick, and I'm really sick, and we've been sick for the last week, and I think we'll be sick for another week by the sounds of it. It's a bit of a viral thing. And I will honestly say that this is just me being so authentic and real with it. It's fucking hard. It's not easy. I make mistakes too. I'm not a perfect person. I handle things terribly sometimes with my family, with my friends. I handle things terribly sometimes with my siblings. I've handled plenty of things terrible with my siblings, but I'm lucky enough that we speak about it, talk about the issue, and move on from it. It's never just, you've hurt me, I'm done with you. I'm not dealing it with you. Try and have that resolution with someone. If you really care about them, right, and you're really wanting to see if it's time for this relationship to end, or if you've evolved so much you just know that it's not there, or they know that it's not there, ask them. Have a conversation with them. This is the other thing that really gets me, is you can drift apart from people. And I like to personally know, like, hey, can you just let me know where we stand? Just so I know how to kind of make my next moves. And then if I've asked a couple of times, right, I don't understand why people can't come back and say, hey, look, I really like you, or, you know, I really care for you, but I just don't think we're the right fit as friends. Why can't we normalize that? We normalize that in relationships. Why can't we normalize that in friendships? Why can't things be very honest? I'm a very honest person. Sometimes it's too much for people, how honest I can be. And sometimes I need to have more empathy. Sometimes I need to open my heart up way more than I have. You know, way more. Sometimes I'm working on my heart. Sometimes my heart needs to be chipped away slowly. It needs to open slowly. It's a very big heart, and when it opens, and it opens really, really big, it won't close. So I'm very protective of my heart. I always have been. My husband is like a patient human, and we've worked so well together in the last 3 years because I've gone in all-heartedly on things, and things haven't worked out. They've really blown up in my face, like really blown up in my face. If you haven't heard the episode about when I went to Sydney and how that relationship basically changed my whole perspective in life on things, then you'll understand where I'm coming from in that place and space. Is your heart, my heart is where I lead most of the time. After having Oakley, I've had to really shuffle and really dive into myself again because I've felt like I haven't. It takes 2 years to get over postpartum. Some friends will understand it, some friends won't. Some people won't actually understand the depth of postpartum unless they've been through it. And even then, some people don't even want to acknowledge how deep and how tough it is. It is life-changing. You change as a woman every single time you have a baby. You are a new person. Something else unravels within you. And you know what? If you feel that someone doesn't align with you in a friendship, you have every right to say that that's not correct. And if you are being broken up with, or somebody has said to you that they don't feel that you're the right person with you and they've done the right thing by you, honestly, it's not a reflection on you. It might be just a reflection on where things are at. And it could be a reflection on you, or it could be a reflection of them. But I think the backwards and forwards is where the problem is. You can leave something and leave it in a positive note, in a positive way, in a powerful way. But I'm not sure that we completely understand how to do that in friendships. Even in relationships, people don't understand that. I got very good at being in relationships, like basically being in relationships and learning and talking and communicating, that when it really came down to it with my husband, and me and him definitely picked a growth path together, and we feel that we've both talked about it and we both acknowledge it, and his intuition has just started to switch on, and it's absolutely phenomenal to see some of the things that he's saying to me. I'm just like, you're blowing me away, dude. But we've had 3 months of hard conversations, hard growth, and people seem to think that is a problem, that 3 months of having a tough time, and it's not like we don't love each other. We do. We're just disagreeing on different things, and we're getting to understand each other a little bit more. And then I did a bit of work on myself. I got shown to do a few things, and I navigated a few things, and it shifted us. And then he did something similar, and it shifted him. This is what friendships should be like. You should be able to be your full, authentic version of who you are, and it should be accepted on either side. Either side should be accepting it. And I've been thinking about this for a really long time. And it's been a podcast that I've been wanting to do for a long time, and I feel like now it's starting to get to a point where I can really ground into always meet you at where they can and where they're at. And if it's not where you're wanting it to be, and this is something that I have learnt recently, if it's not where you're wanting to be, don't do what I did, guys. Do not do what I did and turn around and be like, well, you haven't given me what I need. My little girl came out and was like, you didn't give me what I need, so I'm going to get so grumpy with you, so angry with you. And, why can't you just give me what I need? I have said to you, this is not what I need, and blah, blah, blah. And a lot of people listening will be like, what? You did what? How dare you? Why would you say that? Because I overreacted. I had a trigger point in me that had asked for something for 4 or 5 times before. I know myself well enough to know that I operate 4 or 5 times before, right? I get to a point, and any woman will say this, 4 or 5 times before you get to a breaking point as a mother, as a wife, you normally have said something. And if somebody doesn't hear it, and you have said something 4 or 5 times, your inner self, your inner child will be like, just listen to me for fuck's sake. That's how it felt, okay? Was it the right thing to do? No, it was not. What should I have done? I should have stepped away from the situation. And gone, I don't know if this is going to serve me, this friendship, right now in this moment. Later on down the track, it could. In this moment, I probably am not as gentle, as heart-opening as this person wants, and those types of things, and they're probably not giving me what I need. And this is one thing that my sister-in-law said to me, and I've taken it with me everywhere. She said to me, every friend brings something different to the table, okay? So you can have friends that you go to that you're looking for sympathy, like just venting, kindness, love. Then you go to friends who are the people that really align with you, that will tell you if you're being a dickhead, that will tell you if you need to be pulled into line. Normally you avoid those people if you're in a triggered state, I can tell you that now. And then sometimes you will have friends that are very much there to enjoy life with, if you feel like you want enjoyment. You can still have those friends all in one, but it takes time to develop within yourself. Like, for example, at the moment, I really do feel that I am on the precipice of new soul family coming into my life. And I've had a few of my very close girlfriends who, and I can say now, I have a very, very small group of people in my life these days. Very small people that I trust. There's about 2 or 3 at the moment. And that's because I've just learned that right now I am looking for that. I've had that depth before of that soul sister relationship, that real I love you depth of a soul sister. And I've never felt that again since then. And that friendship ended and I was devastated for years after because I felt our souls had connected on another level. But we weren't meeting each other on the physical. It's the same thing for when you're in a relationship in general. If you and your partner on a spiritual level connect, but on the physical level, it's just not the same. It's not going to work unless the physical matches up with the spiritual. So your physical self has to catch up to the spiritual self. So yeah, I've just learned a lot about friendships. And I think that my biggest takeaway that I can give anyone right now, you're allowed to be yourself. You're allowed to have a dark part of yourself that you're still accepting and loving. And people are also allowed to say to you that they won't put up with it and that it's just not for them and that it's too much for them. And that is okay as well. And for people that be like, I don't really understand that, it's more or less like in the feminine energy, in the feminine body, we go through stages of learning light and dark, right? We also have a light and dark feminine that coincides with that. And your dark feminine might be something that is very much like you don't want to step into that part of yourself. The dark feminine can also be really amazing. It can bring really fun sex with your partner. It's that devious side of yourself. It's that unknown wanting to touch that side of yourself but is a bit afraid. Like, how do you bring that up with your partners? I might do another podcast on that actually. And then your light feminine is basically your heart loving side. They coincide together. I want to be very clear on that. They work together so fucking beautifully, like the yin and the yang with inside yourself. But you have to know your boundaries. And if you let yourself cross that boundary, I've crossed my own boundary with certain things recently. That is my fault. I should have known that I was at my limit and I should have walked away. And I tend to not, and that is my fault. I need to learn that in friendships, in relationships. That is just my big lesson here. Am I going to go away and beat myself up about this? No. I love who I am. I really do. I love who I am. People will take it the wrong way. People might not understand me and people might not understand where I come from in friendships and in relationships. Do I be as flexible as I possibly can? Yes. Do I still have firm boundaries? Yes. But I still also flex in and flex out. So I flex in with relationships and I flex out with friendships and I apologize when I need to, and then I stand when I feel like I need to stand for myself. That is just flow, right? That is an ebb and flow in friendships and relationships. But if you're kind of sitting there right now and you feel a little bit confused, go back and re-listen to this again because I feel like it'll sink in the second time. But I want to make this very, very clear. It's okay either way, whatever anyone feels. It's about learning how to, and this is my greatest thing. I have massive, massive emotions that I came to earth. That is one of my karmic sides this lifetime, is to get a hold of my emotions and not let them overrun my body and myself, and to have them balanced. That is one of my karmic dues for me, is to learn how to balance them properly. And I've started to slowly learn that. But I'm also learning about myself in the same way. So how amazing that I can sit here and say that I feel like I'm learning about myself by these depths, these darkness, these lights are coming up. Now, I'd want to make it very clear, and this is what one of my other friends said to me recently. She said, you actually don't go into growth 24/7. Like, you do what you need to. But it's not like when I met my friends Luca and DK like 5 years ago, we were in that. We were in it. We were all in that spiritual growth, that spiritual journey. And we were just like, hell no. Like, we were not in that specific. Like, I laugh about it because Oh, Luca. Luca went vegan for a bit, and there's nothing against anyone vegan, but it was just really funny because he now is like the total opposite. He's like full carnivore nearly. And he was like, wow, that was a bit of a phase for me. That was his journey and his phase, right? No judgment on him for that. And I was the same. I went vegetarian, and then I was like, wow, my body actually genuinely craves meat. Like, you go through these, if it is a phase or a stage, great. If it's something permanent, fantastic. But it's like friendships as well. They ebb and flow. They grow and they shrink. And I think open communication is best, and respecting everybody is best. And I have crossed people's boundaries before. I'm a human, okay? I am a human. I still cross people's boundaries sometimes, and they just remind me, and I say, okay, let's move on. Let's go. That's what it's about, is like, let's not cross this boundary. And then if you go too far in that boundary, what happens? What normally happens? Think about that. Is somebody gets really upset because you haven't really heard them or seen them in that boundary. And I've done that recently as well. And I was like, oh, wow, thank you for reminding me. That is great, great reminder. The universe does things for you, not to you. And this is something that I have played a lot in my own little victim mind sometimes, is I very much go, oh, but why is the universe doing this to me? Like, what the hell? What did I do to deserve this? And I'm like, okay, you're going into your victim mentality. The universe is doing it for you. Why is it doing this for you? What is it trying to show you? What can you see out of this? Even in the thick of it, even when it's tough, go through the emotional turmoil of it. And I will say to people that my body, if I don't recognize emotions that are coming up to be cleared, if I don't do it around my period, I get massive migraines. Massive migraines. Massive migraines, because I haven't dealt with the emotions that I'd been feeling for the last couple of weeks. And I felt like I was just like, whew, like it was just like massive emotions coming through. And this week, last week, have been huge releases after I did my clients last week. Massive releases. And just even like my husband and I have had conversations of awareness around, just deep awareness around what we're wanting out of friendships, what are we wanting out of our family. And I feel like when you go through these processes, some people won't understand. I'm going to make that very clear. And some people listening to this might not understand what I'm saying and might disagree with a lot of what I'm saying. But from my lessons, learning, journey, my knowledge, honestly, it comes down to like the knowledge that I have learnt, the way that things flow. And a lot of people are really afraid to go down into triggers or to have something be triggered because their body hasn't fully recovered from what's happened to them in the past. They need to acknowledge that as well. And it's the same for myself. I need to acknowledge, right, this behavior is not good. Not good. And I don't like to go down the path of everyone saying, like, I feel like everyone goes down the path of saying, this person's toxic, that person is negative, this person is this person is that. It's not necessarily about that. Like, they have those traits. That's behavior. So that behavior is not acceptable. You don't have to put a label on that behavior. You can just say, your behavior is being really unacceptable right now to me. Does that make sense? It's exactly like the same when you're talking to, like when I talk to Oakley, I say that. I say to her, your behavior right now is not being respectful, or, not even respectful. Your behavior, so the behavior that you're showing is not okay because blah, blah, blah. And we talk about it and we go through it because of that. And it's the same in friendships. Hey, your behavior is not being okay right now. And, I still sometimes, like I said, I'm not perfect. Still sometimes my behavior is still not good. So, I think we all need to give ourselves a bit of grace. Give yourself grace. Give yourself gratitude. Know when things are done as well. Know when friendships are done. They don't have to be destroyed to be done. They can just be peacefully done. It's something I'm very much in at the moment. They can just peacefully be done. Just understand that someone's done. And even for me, I know when something is done, and try and hold on to it because you don't want to feel a tiny bit of pain or sadness. I think people underestimate how sad I can get over someone leaving my life. And I've always been that way. That's why I'm very careful about who I let in my life. So it's just something that I've learnt along the way. So I'm going to leave it at that. I hope you guys have enjoyed today's potty. Like I said, it's probably a bit of a muddled mess, but I'm okay with that because that's just what it is this week. I'm not feeling 100%. Everything just feels like it's shifting stuff for me, and I'm okay with that. I'm in it, and I'm accepting that. And like I said, own up to your behaviours. Even with my husband, I will give you this biggest tip, women. The greatest thing that I've ever done to him, own up to my behaviours. Read books on the female brain and how the feminine works and how it's different to a male, and how we get caught up trapped in the world in thinking that our husbands or partners need to be like us. They don't. It's good that there's difference. Leave them be in their own self. And then talk to them about behaviours if something comes up. Don't forcibly push it on them is one of the greatest things that I will give you. And that is from me learning and me growing. That is what a growth relationship is about. And honestly, that is what a conscious relationship is about. Being conscious also means that you're going to have bad behaviour. And a lot of people don't want to acknowledge that. And a lot of people, to them, that's not... If they have been through something, bad behaviour is like a no-go, any sort of something. But that is a problem in the future if you don't really take your time to go in that and through that, because you will understand that everyone has bad behaviour and you are allowed to have a limit. But also, you would probably have bad behaviour as well. That is what a conscious relationship does. They bring up patterns and wounds for you to look at. It's how you learn to handle them. If you both are people that have jumped into a conscious relationship without actually giving yourself time to prep for that, it can be quite full on. Throw in a marriage and a kid in there, and then you have the biggest learning lessons of your life that we have gone through in the last 3.5 years. And I can tell you now, it is so worth it. I'm so in love with my child and my husband. I love them deeply. But it has taken up a percentage of my life, and it has been absolutely huge for me. So, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for listening today. I'm so stoked that I came on here and was like honest, authentic, and very much myself. I hope you really have a wonderful week, guys, and I will be back next week.